When you're ready to write VBA code that can be used anywhere in your database, you can create a code module. You create a code module by going into the Visual Basic Editor, which I will do by pressing Alt F11. And then I have some existing code for a form that I want to get out of the way, so I'll just click the Close button to close it. If it doesn't appear in your database, don't worry about it. Now, to create a code module, click the Insert menu header, and then click Module. Doing so creates a code module, and in this case it's named Module 1, and it comes with the option Compare Database statement. And what that does is it allows Access to compare its database to its previous state so that it can detect changes. So it's very important that you leave that statement there. And you'll also notice that in the project window on the left side of the screen, you will see that there is now a Modules section under the project, and that the Module 1 appears there. When you create a code module, you can now create a procedure, and that procedure can either be a subroutine or a function. In this case, I'll just create a very simple subroutine, and it will be the traditional hello world message. So I'll type sub, which is first for sub or subroutine, a space, and then the name of the subroutine, and that will be hello message, all one word, HELLO MESSAGE, and then a left parentheses and right parentheses with nothing between them. Now when I press enter, Access creates the end sub statement for me, and then also draws a line above the subroutine so that it is in a distinct section as compared to the option Compare Database statement. Now I can just type my code, and don't worry about the specifics of this too much. I just want to indicate how it works. We will get into the specific command that I use later in the course. So I'll type message box, MSG, a space, then a left parentheses, double quote, and then hello world, HELLO, comma, space, WORLD, then a period, double quote to end the text string, and a right parentheses. Now if I press F5, Access runs the code and it displays a message box with hello world in it. You can have multiple subroutines in a code module as long as each one has its own sub statement at the top and end sub statement at the bottom. To illustrate the point, I'm going to click below the end sub statement and I'll press enter just to give myself a little more room. And now I'll type sub space and then goodbye. And then a left and right parentheses, press enter, and Access again draws a line to separate this subroutine from the previous subroutine, and also gives me my end sub statement. And I'll go ahead and just type message box, then a space, then a left parentheses, double quote, and then just goodbye. GODBYE, a period, double quotes, and a right parentheses. Now, because the cursor is flashing inside of the goodbye subroutine, if I press F5, Access runs that code. Whereas if I were to click within the hello message subroutine and then press F5, Access would run that code. Another element of the Visual Basic Editor worth pointing out is that when you have multiple subroutines in a code module, you can click the Sections list box at the top right of the editor and then click the code section to which you want to move. And that is here in the top right corner, just below the title bar. So you can see currently there is the hello message, and that is the name of the subroutine where the cursor is currently flashing. If I click the list box's down arrow, we'll see that we have declarations, which is where the option Compare Database statement is, and also goodbye. So if I were to click goodbye in this list, then the cursor would start flashing inside of the goodbye subroutine. This capability doesn't mean much when you have one or two subroutines in a code module, but it means a lot when you have a lot of them, so keep it in mind. The natural next question is whether you can have multiple code modules in a single database, and the answer is yes, absolutely. To create a new code module, just do what you did to create the first one. Click Tools and then Module. Just as you keep different types of data in separate databases, you should keep different types of subroutines in different code modules. For example, if you have code that displays forms and another set that displays tables, you should put all of the forms macros in one module and the tables macros in another. The default names for code modules are Module 1, Module 2, and so on. which isn't much help when you're trying to remember which module contains which macros. You can rename a code module by clicking the module in the project panel, and then in the Properties pane, which is just below the project pane, you can click in the Name Properties box and type a new name for the module. And in this case, I'll just type Hello Goodbye and press Enter. When I do, you can see that the code module's name changed here in the project panel and also here on the title bar of the module. Now, let's say that you've created some very useful code that you want to share with a colleague. You can always copy and paste the code into a Word document or email message, but doing so runs the risk of having a spell checker or autocorrect operation change your code. A cleaner way to save your code in a text file is to right-click the code module's name and then click Export File. Doing so opens the Export File dialog box, and you can save the text as a .bas file. If you want to save the file as a plain text file, you can click the Save as Type down arrow and click All Files. Just as you can export a code file, you can import one too. To import a code file, click the File menu and then click Import File. You can then find the file that you want to import and then click Open. You can get rid of a code module by right-clicking the module name and then clicking Remove. When you do, Access displays a dialog box asking if you want to export the code before removing it. You can either click Yes, No, Cancel, or Get Help on the operation. In this case, I'll click Cancel to cancel the operation. Working with code modules in the Visual Basic Editor is not complicated, but there are a lot of options you can take advantage of. You can use the techniques from this movie to create and manage your code modules effectively.